Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this conversation about your Kundalini awakening experience. My name is Chrism, and I would like to say that this is a beautiful, beautiful Wednesday afternoon in sunny California, Northern California, Sonoma County, to be exact. And I am sitting here in our little portable studio with Her Holiness Rosemary Goliath. There you are, Rosemary. Say hello.
Hello.
And we also have Lasha, the Kundalini cat, with us. And before I go any further, I would like to welcome, I'd like to introduce, I would like to bring upon you the Celtic queen of questionable comforts, Her Holiness Santara. Hello, Santara. Oh my gosh. Woohoo!
Hi, Chrism. Hi, Rosemary. Hi, Lasha.
Hi.
Meow, meow. Meow to Lasha. It's good to be here, as always, on a Wednesday, Chrism. And let me tell you, Cork, where I am at the moment, I bet you it's just as warm as California. We have been having amazing weather on this side of the world.
Well, that's because they have this beautiful light called Santara. They're on the island of Tara.
Oh,
right?
Thank you. On the island of Tara, yes.
Yes.
Well, I'll begin as I always do, and I go and let listeners know where they can go if they want to make a donation to Kundalini Awakening Systems to contribute towards the work that Chrism does. As you know, there are these blog talk shows. There are also lots of other venues where Chrism gives his teaching and gives support to people who are in a Kundalini awakening process. And in order for this to continue, well, donations are essential. Having said that, there is never any pressure on anybody who is listening to this conversation to actually donate. But if you are in a position to do so, and if you want to do so, then here is where you can go. It's www.ascension-kundalini.blogspot.com, and in the upper right-hand corner, you will find the donate button. There are some other ways that you can donate as well, and if you would have an interest in that, you can give me a buzz, or you can write to me, I should say, at kundalinimatters@gmail.com, and we can talk about alternatives. So again, let me give you the donate button place that you can go to. That's www.ascension-kundalini.blogspot.com. So thank you, Chrism, and I'm really looking forward to the show tonight, as always. And we have lots of people in the guest room, in the chat room. So hello to everybody there, and you're all very welcome.
Well, I'll be saying my fine thank yous to you, dear Santara, as you come at through the Irishness of your Irish beingness, and I'd like to give a fond hello to those joining us in the pub tonight, Julia and Manisha, Phil, Helly, guest 2097 and 2115.
Well, actually, no.
I don't know.
Well, actually, no. There, boy. That wasn't too bad. It wasn't so Scottish as normal.
Scottish fading into Mexican.
Indeed.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here, everybody, and it's great to have this opportunity to share the Kundalini with you, and to share the teachings of the Kundalini with you. And really, we're getting, looks like Santara's got some calls coming in, and so this is nice. Now, one of the things that I frequently forget to mention, and I won't forget today, is the other places one can go to receive this kind of information. And on the Yahoo networks, we're at Kundalini Awakening Systems 1 at YahooGroups.com, and then we're also Kundalini Healing on the Yahoo network. We can be found on Facebook at Kundalini Awakening Systems 2, Kundalini Awakening Systems 3, and a big group at Kundalini Awakening ! Where we also have Kundalini Healing on Facebook, as well as a private Kundalini Healing group for those who cannot have their name disclosed in conjunction with Kundalini, which is it's a fairly major deal. If you're working as president of a company and somebody finds out that, oh my God, you're having Kundalini, oh, okay. Bad things can happen. So you can find us there on Facebook. You can find me on Facebook at Chris Mitchell or Chrism Kundalini. Facebook kind of makes you say, what they want you to say in order to be on Facebook. And so, I don't care if people know that I have Kundalini. I don't care if they know my first name, last name, middle name, shoe size, ring finger size, any of that stuff. We'll just go with that. So I would like to direct you to those areas. We also have blog spots. We have Kundalini Living, which is Eileen's Kundalini Compendium, and you just Google Kundalini Living, and that will come right up. And we also have Santara's blog, which is Kundalini Matters at Gmail. I believe it's a Gmail account. And so these are some of the other areas that this information can be found at. Also on the YouTube network. I don't want to forget the YouTube. A lot of people are tuning into the YouTube these days, and that is Chrism.Kundalini, or as Julia told me yesterday, it just comes up as Chrism Kundalini, and that is on the YouTube network, and we have about 321 and climbing. We have quite a few videos there as well. Today, I want to talk to you about the mantra. This kind of coincides with the latest video that has been put up on that channel, and that video was Brooke. I was talking with Brooke about it. Now, as a matter of fact, I think I'm going to bring Brooke on the program right now. And here she is, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, here is Brooke. Brooke Robertson.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi there. Hi, everybody.
She didn't know I was going to do this either, so she was just planning on listening. But oh my gosh, here we are. We're on the air with thousands of millions of people, Brooke.
Uh-huh.
How do you feel about the mantra thus far? Has it changed anything for you? Are there any differences now that you've had a little more time with the mantra, that special mantra that I gave you, and say compared to when we were videotaping that excellent presentation you gave on the mantra?
I think what's happening now with me is that I'm feeling more drawn, or for lack of a better word, addicted to it. I want to be inside of it all the time. So that wasn't, when I did do that video with you, that wasn't really occurring. But since I've been back here on the East Coast, I'm having that experience of just wanting to be inside the mantra all the time. So
what does that feel like? How does that come across physiologically or emotionally?
What was that? What does it feel like?
Yeah. How does it come across physiologically or emotionally or even psychologically?
I think it just provides a level of protection, a level of comfort for me, a level of familiarity. I don't know.
That's what you said in the video too, and it's nice to see that is continuing. That is a continuing process for you. With the mantra, it seems to have a fairly predictable, at least the mantras given through me, seem to have a predictable level of activity with the individual, i.e., there's that field is kind of generated, and the levels and the protections come through, and the almost like that electricity comes through. Are you feeling the electricity?
Yeah, actually, I was feeling that today, electricity, yeah. So maybe that's what you mean, yeah.
Well, the electricity can come, but that also has to do with an individual equation as well, and I know that you have a very, very strong individual equation. So thank you, my dear. Thank you for tuning in and for being part of the show, and I'm going to I'm going to put you in the Shiva blue. Here we go. So yeah, as Brooke was explaining, there is an electric flow to these mantras and each person's mantra is different than another person. It's not the same way each time. It's a lot of it is about the person's individual equation. You know, how that is being experienced, what the person's attitude is behind that individual equation, and you know the many different levels of practice that the person can do, levels of surrender that the person can do. The mantra really, you know, it has a lot to do with the individual surrendering into it, learning how to what behavior are you not willing to let go of? What aspect of yourself are you not willing to surrender, knowing full well that the Kundalini is upon you, it is within you, it is expressing through you, and yet what aspect of the ego are you fighting to retain? What aspect of your willfulness are you not willing to surrender to the Kundalini? And then ask yourself why. If Kundalini is in every cell of your body already, moving its energy up the Chitrini channel in the middle of your spine, moving it up, moving it down, coinciding with certain events on the exterior, like when you're practicing your Kundalini practice, it often goes way up high on your spine. When you're just doing things that it's not so focused on the Kundalini, it can be just quiet, drifting down between your first and second chakra on your spine. As you feel this presence within you, what aspect of yourself do you absolutely refuse to surrender? And why? How is anything in your life, in your mundane five-sense life, more important than the divine opportunity that's being gifted to you through the Kundalini? What is more important than that? What value does that have for you in your life? And what level of ego willfulness or ego self-gratification, what levels of the ego expression are being allowed to supersede the Kundalini infusion within you? What level of old programming? If you were, Rosemary here, she had 25 years as a nun and 2 or 3 years as a mother superior. Well, and so we were talking about this today as we were driving back to the ashram today. It's like, what level of programming, is allowed to interrupt the Kundalini flow? And I'm going to ask you, Rosemary, what level of programming are you allowing to interrupt your Kundalini flow?
Well, I'm seeing it for maybe the first time after doing this work because it's so natural. It's like you need a mirror to see it because the way it's in there, so routine. But you remind me, and often in a teasing way too, and sometimes needs to be harsher. But it's some of the stereotype thinking that I have, and it was just like a third of my life, but I guess it was a highly influential time, and my commitment was there. So it's stereotypes and judgments that I make about what's appropriate, what's proper, what's right, what's wrong. And that's limiting and hard to. It's helpful to have a teacher who points that out because of itself. It's that ego self established by itself.
Right. Yeah. And she brings up a really good point. I mean, it's easy to allow the ego to influence how your reception of the Kundalini is going to be manifested, how your attention, how your behavioral corrections, self-corrections are going to be manifested or not as you come into stronger understandings about what it is to have Kundalini, what it is to have to listen to like an unending force within yourself, giving you the sounds that you can hear inside your brain, or the sensations that you can feel at the inside of your spine, or the hot temperatures, the cold temperatures. And I find a lot of people get really weighed down. They basically they communicate the most about what is bothering them. It's almost that squeaky wheel gets the oil type of mentality. And the Kundalini, often with the people that have been visiting the ashram lately, they're feeling cold all the time. It's not often that I get somebody who's feeling as hot as I am all the time. I mean, hot. I sit in a certain part of the car and the window steams up. It's like laying next to a sauna. And Julia has also mentioned that because she's a Chinese medical doctor, she knows a lot of the ancient techniques within Chinese medicine. She says, there's certain things that you can do to cool that down. Frankly, I don't want to cool it down. It may not be as comfortable as I would like it to be all the time, but this is how the Kundalini is expressing through me. It is not an accident, and I surrender to this divine force within me. And I have to tell you, it's getting stronger and stronger and stronger, as it will. Brooke came out here to the ashram, and she stayed about 28 days, I believe, is what she stayed. And there was a definite gradation of opening and willing to open into her Kundalini, and the Kundalini was definitely explaining itself to her in a tactile language, in the language of having the energy inside the Chitrini channel of the spine come up, come down, come up, come down, feeling cold. And I know, Rosemary, you also feel the chill quite often. And I'm not sure. Let me ask Santara. Santara, bringing you on here. Flush that toilet now. Don't leave it there.
Yes, Chrism. I'm a hot sauna.
Hey, I totally remember that. You were about as hot. Oh my God, you're like sitting next to a volcano. That's right.
I'm hotter. I'm after getting hotter. I mean, it is amazingly hot. And
does John get a suntan just laying next to you?
Oh, it's amazing. And sometimes, just exactly as you say, the windows fog up, or the back of my seat in my car is as though it is actually a radiator. I mean, you can feel the heat on it, and that's just the way it is. It's been like that for a while, and surrender is, it can be intrusive sometimes, but it's okay.
Well,
it is true. I don't need, coats and things the way other people do.
Oh, that's for sure. How handy it is to live in Ireland and to have that heat. Boy, you just don't.
Yeah.
I remember when I was in my in the early part of our work together, when I had you. I mean, tell them what I would have you do. I'd have you go swimming in the ice-cold Irish Ocean. I would have you swimming in the ice-cold rivers, and I even have videos of one of the rivers that I asked you to swim in, and these are not warm waters. Am I right?
No, you're right. I mean, one time you sent me to the woods, not the ones near my house, but the ones a little bit further away, and there was a river coming out of a lake, or going into a lake.
Beautiful,
coming out
clear
of the lake.
Water river.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
and John came with me, because I had been there before, but he came with me this time because the instruction was I was to stay in there for 21 minutes. 21 minutes. And the first time I had gone there were people around, and I didn't see them. It wasn't. So John came as security, basically, so that he could keep an eye out while I did.
You're going in any KID, right?
Yeah, unclothed, of course.
as they say in Georgia, I think.
Yeah. So anyway, the story is that John, it was October, and it was really cold. And when we arrived, we had sleet, and it was really, really windy. As though you always know this when you give me such instructions. It's amazing. But anyway, and in I went, and John is in his gear, and he's, out a little bit, keeping an eye just in case somebody will come, even though in that weather we didn't expect anybody to. And I get in, and I spend 21 minutes there, and John has his mobile phone, and he's going to let me know, he's at timed. And for me, I get in, and of course there's an instant response from the body, but as I just surrender into doing as you've instructed me to, and as I surrender to my Kundalini, I feel the heat, rising in my body, and it's just not cold anymore. So after the 21 minutes, John decided he'd like to do it. He's listening to this on the radio, so he's probably laughing. But anyway, he decided that he would like to try it, because I came out and I was I was very vibrant. He couldn't, he was amazed. So he said he would try it as well. And he got in and took off all the shaking, and took off all his gear and got into the water. And of course it was just a matter of stepping down into the river. It was like maybe 3-4 feet deep, and there was a big hole in the middle of it that I went out into, and he didn't last, I would think, even 2 minutes. It was so cold. And he's a tough guy, Yeah.
Well, and that's not an uncommon response either, and nobody should feel in any way diminished, because the Kundalini, when the Kundalini comes up, and it you feel warm, and if you weren't feeling warm, say if the sacred feminine was coming up solely while you're out there in that water, and you're not being heated at all, you're actually being frozen some more. I mean, people won't last very long at all, and it reminds me a little bit of Brooke when she went out into Lake Tahoe. Brooke, I'm bringing you on.
Yes.
Do you remember going out into Lake Tahoe, and what the first thing was that you felt?
I couldn't breathe. It literally took my breath away. It was so cold. I'd not had cold like that ever. I'd not experienced cold at that level ever in my life.
I mean, it does. It literally takes your breath away.
It literally physically takes the breath away.
And the same thing happened to Rosemary as well. As a matter of fact, I remember kind of walking Rosemary back to the shore because she couldn't breathe, and so it's just the shock of the water is so strong. And thank you, Brooke, putting you back in the blue here, and so Amelia, with John, I think that he should be very proud that he even went in at all.
Yes, I agree with you. But I was just telling it as to say that when the Kundalini is there and giving the heat, it's actually easy to stay there. It's not a trial at all.
And I believe Eileen also felt this. Hi, Eileen. How are you, my dear?
Hi, Chrism.
Hey, you remember going up to Shasta and with Amelia and a bunch of other people? And how did you feel when you got in the water there? Do you recall?
Well, the same as what they have said. It kind of took my breath away. But one thing I do remember is being in that cold, cold water. It was at freezing level. And holding hands with Santara. And we were bouncing up and down, oming. And we did it for quite a while. I was amazed.
You guys were the ones that broke. You guys broke the layer of ice on. It was like what, an inch or 2 inches of ice?
Well, Santara did that. I didn't do that, but I don't feel the heat that you're talking about. However, I was able to stay in the water, and then getting out. It's such a wonderful feeling. Not because you're leaving the cold, but my body, and then when we went into the Merced in Yosemite, wasn't it? Yeah, Yosemite. Anyway, coming out of there, my body felt so light. It was I remember that feeling very well.
Oh, thank you, Eileen, and thank you for sharing it here, putting you in the blue. And so, yeah. No, it's this is what surrendering to the Kundalini really can bring a person, and this is what that mantra helps a person do. As you surrender into the Kundalini, as you open yourself to what the mantra is saying, I, Chrism, will do this, I'll do that, I'll surrender this, I give this, I give this to the Kundalini, or I give this to my teacher. It really begins to pave the way to greater levels of experiential benefit that the Kundalini will bring to you. And it's really one of the, a lot of people are asking me to give them instant phenomena. Oh my gosh, Master Chrism, give me this or give me that, or, help me to feel this or help me to feel that. And frankly, because I'm not like I don't see myself as a, hang on a second, messing around with this cord here. I don't see myself as like a circus act, although Rosemary might. She's from Minnesota. But I don't see myself as a circus act, and so I won't just like go out and give people whatever sensation they want to have just for the asking for it. But for some of the more serious people, those of you who really, really, really are interested in furthering their Kundalini awakening experience, for those people, and if those people want to become, private students of mine, then I will give them a mantra. And Lasha has her mantra. You can go ahead and let her out if that's what she wants. She's going to start complaining. I will give you a mantra, but that mantra is a terrible, terrible thing. A terrible, terrible thing. Fashti knows. Fashti has a mantra. And of course, Brooke has one, Elizabeth has one, Eileen has one, Santar has one, Rosemary has one. A lot of people that I work with closely have the mantra, and they know exactly what I mean when I say it's terrible. It's terrible in its thoroughness. It's terrible in the fact that it doesn't allow any room for refusal. It doesn't allow any room with regards to temporal placement, i.e., how much time it's in effect. It's for the rest of your life. This is really, really major stuff, and yet it's stuff that is so eloquent in its feeling upon you. When you as Brooke was saying earlier, when you have the mantra and you feel the mantra flowing to you and through you, it gives you this wave of energetic vibrancy that is above and beyond what your normal energetic anatomy consists of. It gives you this like a 5 or 6 inch permanent level of divine grace is the best word I can use for it. In addition to your aura, in addition to the halo that's developing in a person, in addition to the pranic, the 1 to 2 inch pranic life force energetic veil that is covering everybody, and it also ties one in to the Kundalini in a more communicative format. I'm going to use Josephine Smith as an example. Josephine, before she came out here to the ashram, very, very much a hard-nosed medical person, right? 1 and 1 equals 2, and I got to give this daily injection to this little baby, at a certain amount of time per day. I got to check the medicine. I got to check the expiration date. I got to check the needle size. I got to check all these things. This is a very, very logical minded person, which of course, is kind of what you might want to have, if somebody's going to be sticking sharp instruments into your body, And so she comes out here to the ashram, and the first thing she gets is a mantra and, the instruction to sit in front of the Sri Yantra saying that mantra. And that night, she starts writing. She starts writing dream instructions that are coming to her. And I'm gonna bring Brooke back on here, and Brooke.
Yes.
Could
Hi
you?
there.
Hi. Could you tell the audience how you felt this morning and what you were compelled to do, and if this is or is not, like, say, the first time, or a unique experience for you with regards to what you were compelled to do?
No, it's not the first time, but I haven't had that in a while, and I didn't have it at any of the time that I was with you in the ashram. So it's interesting that the moment I get back, the first night I have here, the morning, right before I'm fully awake, I'm kind of hit with this more instruction, validation, and words and feeling coming through. And I tried to get up and get a pen. So that I made the mistake of going to bed without a pen and paper next to my bed. So I had to rush around and get that, and I lost some of it during that little struggle there. But I wrote everything down as I could, the best I could. It's interesting, you get pushed to write it down quickly, because you're not sure what's coming, and you're not really making sense of it. It just needs to be put on paper.
Oh, very nice, very, very nice, and thank you for sharing that, and I also want to talk about Magdalene de Deus. Magdalene de Deus has been doing this now for close to 4 years, every morning. She is awakened, I think, at around 5 in the morning or earlier, somewhere within that time range, and she is compelled to write down all her dreams. And sometimes I am amazed at the level of intricacy that she is able to remember from her Kundalini dreams, and she is able to write down and communicate. I mean, everything from a person's facial expression to some things that are very clearly past life influences that are coming to the fore and teaching her through some of the many different ways that a past life thing can. She is exceptionally gifted in this area, and I just want to tip my hat to her as she'll be listening to this broadcast soon. So hello to you, Magdalene. And there, many other people within a Kundalini context are beginning to branch into these areas of cognitive reception of almost like a command, but it's a command that comes through as a compelling. You're compelled to reach for that pen, and Brooke, she's compelled not only to reach for the pen and the paper, but she's compelled to get out of those nice warm covers. This is Pennsylvania right now, not the warmest spot in the world, and so her nice warm covers, and to scramble downstairs looking for a piece of paper, and then bringing it back up and then writing it back down, or writing what she was able to remember from it. Very, very, very strong level of persuasion that your individual Kundalini equation has over you. And so once again, I ask the question to you. What are you not willing to surrender to this force that is speaking to you in such ways? Let me ask Santara here. Santara?
Yes, Chrism.
What are you not willing to surrender?
Well, I am willing to surrender everything. I've been doing this mantra that you have given to me for years as well, and it's really interesting what you were saying with Rosemary about old programming. It's a bit like playing an old tape and, conditioning those thoughts, an old tape that comes on without me pressing play. Boom, there it is. And then, my ego raises its voice and urges resistance. And when I say my mantra, immediately it silences my ego's influence. I mean, it just silences it. And then as I continue to say it and to repeat it, my body just floods with energy, and I melt into the meaning of the mantra. It becomes real. It connects me to my teacher, to my Kundalini, and it completely disconnects the influence that my ego has in those moments where it is urging resistance. And so it's a it has saved me. It's a saving grace, Chrism, in my life. And you know, I'm blessed by it that it has made such a difference. And the thing about the mantra is, I mean, it's like Brooke was saying, and I've heard other people saying, when you get it at first, it's not instant. It takes a while to get into it, but it's the commitment and the willingness to do it, and the willingness to surrender everything, and to trust that the mantra that has been given, you know, to trust that and to trust the teacher. And honestly, if anybody keeps doing it, it's something that becomes, it's just part of my being now. It's with me all the time. And like you're talking about the different things, you know, when my body is flooded with that energy, it's my heart expands. It expands into surrender, and love and service comes with that. And my head as well, it's like my head not disappears, but it goes beyond the bone and the skull, and it opens up. It's hard to explain it all, because it's hard to explain it, but it is wonderful. I think to say my body floods with the meaning of the mantra is probably the best way I can express it, really. So thank you, because it's a gift.
No, it's absolutely. It's the Kundalini, and yes, everybody thank the Kundalini profusely. All right, and speaking of thanking the Kundalini, I would like to bring another special guest, Elizabeth Dalton Gonzalez, on board. Hello, Elizabeth.
Hello, Chrism. Hello, everybody.
And I believe there are some announcements to be made.
Yes. Hang on a second.
Eat that mic. Eat that mic.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. Announcing Kundalini at the Castle with Chrism Seminar and Shaktipat, with special guest Dharma Sound Kirtan, coming right up in the next couple of weeks, Saturday, May 9th, and Sunday, May 10th, from 9 to 6 p.m. And the week before, there are 5 talks scheduled, starting Sunday, May 3rd, at Vision Quest Bookstore in Everett from 1 to 4 p.m., Monday, May 4th, at Phoenix Rising Bookstore here in Port Townsend, Washington, from 7 to 10 p.m., Wednesday, May 6th, with the ESP group with Sarah Nash at the Castle in Port Townsend from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. Thursday, May 7th, is at East West Bookshop in Seattle from 6:15 to 9 p.m. Friday, May 8th, Expansions Yoga in Silverdale from 6 to 9 p.m. And again, Saturday, May 9th and Sunday, May 10th from 9 to 6. To register, call Elizabeth, area code 360-732-7076, or you can email Dalton Gonzalez, DAULTONGONZALEZ.Elizabeth@gmail.com.
And what's that phone number again?
Area code 360-732-7076.
Thank you, my dear. And Elizabeth, tell everybody what's happening to you right now.
Well, this is part of the reason why I can't talk. I woke up this morning just sweeps up my spine. It's just a river of energy coming up from my root chakra and going out of my head, just colors. And when I close my eyes, I see diamonds falling down around me, and I kept hearing, it's raining diamonds, it's raining diamonds, it's raining diamonds. And I got up. I tried to go to yoga. I had to leave because it's intense and it's hard to do anything. And so I'm just kind of laying low and surrendering and letting it happen. But it's just a constant river of diamonds.
How beautiful. How wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, my dear, I want you to just go ahead and tune in with your headphones or whatever speaker system you've got, and let it rain those diamonds, my dear.
Okay.
You are a diamond maker. You're a diamond cloud. Let those diamonds rain from you.
Okay, thank you.
So there you have it, folks. And this, and here's something to also consider is Elizabeth is doing a lot of work for Kunalini. To some of you, it may sound like she's doing a lot of work for Chrism, and it's just really, it really isn't that. It really, I may be the one coming up there, and I may be the one putting on the seminar, but let me tell you who's really putting on the seminar. I don't have a script. I don't have any kind of written material. When I go up and do a seminar, it's the Kundalini that runs that seminar. Ask Rosemary. She's put on 2 seminars now. They're not the same. Ask Eileen. Eileen has been to a few different seminars, and Santar has been to a few different seminars now, and they are not the same. Some of the exercises might be the same, but what is given through the voice, what is given through words, what is given through direct personal interaction is never, ever the same. And this is the Kundalini that is doing this now. The Kundalini is giving you, the individual, it's giving you to itself, and it's offering you the opportunity to give yourself into your inner divinity. And so once again, we're looking at the mantra. We're looking at that mantra. Almost everything I do with my private students is in a way an equation of helping people find different ways and different mannerisms in their surrender. You look at Julia. Julia's a great example. And Julia, if you want to call in, the number is 347-934-0026. If you have free long distance, don't do it if you're going to pay through the nose with it. But, Julia has an excellent level of surrender, and she has an excellent level. And because of that, she has an excellent communication with her Kundalini. How cool is that? How cool is that? And, and let's also talk about Fastji, the voice of God. When, Fastji is also doing, the Kundalini surrender, and, and he has his mantra, and he's working with his mantra. And boy, when you listen to Fastji talk, you can feel it in him. So this works across the board. It doesn't have gender barriers. It doesn't have employment barriers. It goes beyond all of our classification systems. It goes beyond all of our programming. And so once again, I'm asking, what aren't you willing to surrender to the Kundalini, and why? Why is it important to hold on to anything that would block your Kundalini? You look at your self-worth. You look at, what is your self-worth grounded in? Is it your car? Is it your finances? Is it your, the power and position you hold within society? Is it your relationship? What is it that you cling to for self-identification and self-validation, and why is it so important? What makes you think that the Kundalini is going to change you so differently that you would not be able to still be who you are in this society? Remember, this is changing you into semi-divinity, SEMI divinity, not full-on, If you're going full on divine, you don't get to have a body unless that divine inspiration is there. But here, to have one foot in the mundane world and one foot in the divine world, or the heavenly fields, as I like to call it, you have to have both. You don't have one obliterating the other, except you will have the divine taking out the blockages to itself within the mundane body. And this is what that mantra begins to initiate in yourself. And as you're doing the mantra, you might feel yourself coming into kriyas, the spontaneous automatic movements and automatic gestures, and sometimes it looks like you're shaking. It'll come into these types of areas too, and you just let it happen. You're not getting cerebral palsy. You're not being attacked with any disease. This is not a neurological disorder. This is a natural expression of the divine within you that is housed within you, and it's been housed within you since you were born, at the last three vertebrae of the tailbone. That which is symbolized by a serpent wrapped 3.5 times around an egg. The egg is the potential, and the Kunalini is what fulfills that potential. That serpent is the Kundalini. And the serpent is also your spine as well. With the head, your head being the head of the serpent, the head of the Kundalini serpent. And it's also reminiscent of a male sperm cell too. I mean, it's it just goes on and on and on, the analogies that you can find with this in the physical world. And so what part of your programming is so important? I mean, Rosemary was, for those 25 years, she was a Catholic nun. And so, eating the flesh and drinking the blood of Jesus was a big deal. You go up there, you drink the grape juice, and that's the analogy for the blood, and you have the wafer, and that's the analogy for the flesh of the divinity. And so by eating and drinking of those constituents, well then, okay, well you have the divine within you. Well, you don't need to eat anything. But for that amount of time, she needed that program. However, now she doesn't. Now the truth has given itself into her. And the same with you. I mean, what level of programming tells you, oh, this isn't real? Oh, that can't be true. How many of your scientific paradigms are you going to cling to? How long will you go into resistance against opening yourself to the impossible? Why are you allowing these parameters of expression and understanding and cognizance to stop you? If you get to the point where I'm giving you a mantra, really, really give into that mantra. Give it all you got. And I mean all that you have. Give it, and give it sincerely, and give it all the time. Yeah, some of the folks may tell you, it's like, oh, how often does Chrism have you do the mantra? Well, I'll have you do it specifically at certain times. I'll have you do it, the first 9 minutes of every hour that you're awake. You spend that first 9 minutes saying the mantra. Every hour that you're awake, even while you're eating, bathing, drinking, you just say it in your head. I mean, you just say it that way, and you're assiduous about this. You plan your day around these things, and let me tell you, it's not the easiest thing. This is not easy stuff that I'm asking you to do, but it is so worth it. It is so worth it, because when you start receiving divine guidance, when you start seeing the impossible happen in front of you, with, as Brooke so recently, has experienced in her life. Nobody has somebody give them an apartment room in a city where there are no apartments available. This is a small town. You got 57,000 people here. That's not that big for within California standards. And when those apartments are done, they're done. There's nothing there to get. But something has arranged itself to have her literally given a foot in the door. A foot in the door. And I see Madhavasadvi is typing, and so we'll see. Now, if any of you have questions there in the chat room, feel free. Feel free to ask the questions. And in a little bit, Santara has collected some of the questions off of the Kundalini Awakening ! Group, and we'll be going through that. She actually harvests questions from many of the groups, and so I'm sure she'll let us know where she got the question when she asks it. But yeah, the mantra is very, 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 very strong. And I don't know, I don't like Madhavasadvi, she followed Osho for quite a while. I think she actually met him in person. This is also a gentleman known as Sri Bhagwan Rajneesh, and he was one of the Indian gentlemen that came up to Oregon, and basically his devotees took over the town. They became the city council. They became the police force. They became the county personnel. They became all of these things. And I want to say real quickly hello to Bruno. Bruno Rodriguez just came in, and he's another one. And Madhavasadvi is saying yes, I did meet him, and I don't know if she received a mantra from him, but I know that when I give a mantra, it's typically not the same for everybody. Some are really, really long, and some are really, really short, but they all contain that power. They all contain a level of acceptance, a level of activation, a level of sequencing within them that allows a person to touch the innermost areas. And let's see, Madhavasadvi says, she says, no, I received my name, not a mantra. So Madhavasadvi, and maybe you can tell us what that means. Your name, what's your name? It's a Sanskrit name, and you can tell us what that means, my dear. So yeah. The words, and you're wondering, well, how can a phrase have any power at all? It's like supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. How, what kind of power does that have? And, Eddie Kuchikichikematosa Meritos no Samakemawaki Brown. What kind of power does that have? And really, it's the intention and the divine gifting upon the words and how it applies to you, how what it means to you. And Madhavasadvi writes, she says, I have been doing Ave Maria, and my divine name is Divine Purity. So she's constantly being called Divine Purity. How cool is that? Nice. So yeah, so what's layered into the mantra are very, very specific levels of power, levels of grace, levels of individual communication to that person's Kundalini, you see. Now, I know, like, if you go into transcendental meditation and things of that nature, they will also say, oh, don't share your mantra with anybody, blah, 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 keep it quiet. And I can't disagree with them. I just can't disagree with them. It's, it is not to be shared so much. It's more to be honored within. If you're going to share it with the Kundalini within you. You don't necessarily need to share it with an audience or something of that nature. Now, if the Kundalini compels you to do that, then of course you do that. And for those that hear it and it won't make any sense to them, well, it doesn't need to make any sense to them. It only needs to make sense to you. And for some of the students, I give them more than one mantra. Some of the mantras will be specific or purpose specific. Healing mantras or verbal prayers that a person can do if they're going to be doing healing for other people. These things are also incredibly important for the development of the individual, but also how that individual interacts with the populations around them or the environment around them. Okay. So that's just something I wanted to say about the mantra. And once again, if you go to the YouTube channel and you look at Brooke, and Brooke is explaining her experience with the Kundalini Mantra, and that's what it's called, the Kundalini Mantra. And go ahead and give that video a watch. It's only 4 minutes and 56 seconds, so it's not going to take all day. But, she does a really great job with it. Thank you, Brooke. And I think that all of you have something to learn from it. Even those of you that are already doing the mantra, you can probably relate a lot to what she's saying there in the video. Right now, I'm going to bring Her Holiness Santara back into the red room. Hello.
Hi, Chrism. Hi.
Hey, you got some questions?
I do. I have a few. This one is from the group. Somebody wrote, last week when I get into bed after my bath and I get comfortable and tired, my body gets a prickly itch like it's inside my skin and my leg twitches and I can't sleep until after 3. My partner is getting very frustrated with this. Can you tell me if this is normal?
This is off of the exclamation, the Kundalini Awakening exclamation group. Okay, all right. Yeah, this is normal. This and it is an inside-out scenario. The energy is percolating within the body, within the nervous system, and this percolation is going to stimulate the hair follicles on the surface of the skin, and it's also going to stimulate the motor nerves that are going to cause twitching, or will also eventually it can expand into kriyas, as well as the automatic positioning that the Kundalini will bring for a person. It often looks like yoga positions. And so as this prickly energy develops, and the spontaneous sudden like jerking of the feet or movement of the foot, I will suggest that you sleep in a different bed. I know for those of you that are couples and you're looking at that and you're going, oh my God, I can't do that. Well then, just find a way to separate yourself and allow the Kundalini to have its way with you. Once again, this is changing your mundane life expression in order to incorporate and allow the Kundalini expression to become, at least for a short time, dominant within you. Remember, you're semi-divine, you're part divine, part human with this. And so you need to allow the divine aspect to intrude itself into your human affairs. This is very, very important. You must allow it. You must surrender to it. And so it really goes much further than allowing. Do you allow God's hand upon your shoulder, or do you surrender to that? I'll leave that up for you to discern.
Thanks, Chrism. Actually, I can remember having to get out of bed and go down to a sofa to sleep in during times exactly as you describe. Actually, I had to do. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we hadn't said that, I think, on the group, so that's wonderful new information. Now, there's another post here from another lady who's married, but it is not on the group. It was a private message, and here it is. My husband harasses me mentally all the time, disrespects me in front of people, blamed me for his abusive behaviour, and literally my life is in turmoil. He has hit me in front of my small child who has started crying. My marriage is on the rocks. I don't know what to do, yet I am not in a financial position to leave. I surrender to Kundalini and I trust that she will take care of me no matter what. What else can I do?
Well, the first thing that you're doing right is surrendering to the Kundalini. And you can actually, the individual can actually ask the Kundalini to temper the husband's response to her. And also to begin to develop within this person, this woman, the ability to survive outside of that marriage. That marriage is doomed. That marriage is doomed. If the abusive spouse doesn't change, and most often they won't change until there is no more marriage, and then they'll see what they have done, and they'll, oh my gosh, I have a family, I have this beautiful creation that I've just been pissing all over, and now it's over, and oh my gosh, give me one last chance, right? Give me one last chance. Oh, let me make amends. And by then, the damage can be so deep and so traumatic and so permanent that the marriage will not be able to be saved. And so at this point, she needs to talk to her Kundalini and allow and surrender to what the Kundalini is telling her to do. And, this can be a very, very difficult area for a person to have, not just because they're inside of an abusive marriage, but also it's often you're being asked to trust far beyond your comfort levels. So right there, she's stating, I don't have the financial wherewithal. I don't have a career. I don't have a way to leave this person and survive on my own. And yet, when you have the Kundalini, you always have a way. You may not know it in your ego mind. You may not know it in your mental or emotional bodies. You may not know it in your psychological equation. But if you're trusting the Kundalini, you always have a way. Let me tell you, the age of miracles is not past. It's actually quite common. It's happening every day here. Kundalini will give you those resources. It will give you resources that you would never have thought would come to you. It will give you resources that allow you to survive and to survive well. But you also must be able and willing to take that chance. A lot of people, they say to me, oh, Chrism, God, you bring me to the edge of the cliff, and what, now you're asking me to jump? And I say, yeah, I want you to jump. And as you fall, I want you to see yourself flying rather than falling. All falling is flying. And there is no ground to hit when you fly. And even if you see the ground rushing up to you, you just give yourself to the Kundalini. I'll suggest instead of looking at that ground rushing up to you, just turn over and give yourself to the Kundalini. Let it land you. If you must be landed, let it land you. Let it protect you. Let it keep you. Let it help you. But you gotta reach out for it. You can't just go, oh, Kundalini, save me, and not give it anything. You say, oh, save me, but I'm still going to be the way I am. No, you need to be willing to take yourself and to take your child and to risk going into the world without an abusive spouse. This isn't helping your child at all. So this is one of those really, really difficult choices that people are brought into within the Kundalini environment. Now, the Kundalini, and I'm sorry, I know you're hearing the bird behind me. This is Sugar Baby. She wants to join in the conversation. Can you let the dogs in? She often tells us that the dogs need to come in if I can't hear them. So she's quite active right now. Rosemary's going to go see what's up. This person is being given an opportunity to trust, and to trust in a substantial way. I don't mean something that's just figurative. I don't mean something that's just, oh, okay, have faith. Nothing like that. This is deep down, rubber meets the road kind of trusting. And I'm going to suggest that she does this. This marriage, if the Kundalini doesn't want it to last, it will not last. This could be very, very unhealthy for that other spouse, that abusive spouse as well, if it's allowed to continue. And for the benefit of everybody in that family, there's two things that I will strongly recommend. And the first one is for the person who's being abused to trust their Kundalini and get out of the marriage, begin to make those separation activities, number one. Number two, and to trust the Kundalini, to let the Kundalini do what it feels is necessary. Okay, the abusive spouse will do what they're going to do, but you need to trust your Kundalini. Give yourself into that equation. Don't let anything interrupt you. It's certainly not fear from the ego, and the ego can put out copious amounts of fear. Do not let fear saturate your decision-making process. Let trust in the Kundalini saturate your decision-making process. Next one, my dear.
Thank you, Chrism. The next one is on the group as well, the exclamation group. It's from Jens, and it was a comment at the end of a thread that hasn't been answered. So it says, I've read that souls before incarnating again make certain agreements, for example, to balance karma. Would that be an example of karmic promise? Or is that just nonsense of which you can read so much on the internet?
Well, karmic promises, karmic agreements. I mean, we're running into a level of semantics here. Yeah, when a soul is looking at its future life, it knows it's going to have a future life, and it's looking at the patterns of probability that are the strongest, that are reaching for it the strongest. And you get guidance with this too. This isn't just you doing all the work, although it's you doing a lot of the work. You are your own judge. You judge yourself. You die, you come back, you look at how your life went, and believe me, you not only will see it from your perspective, you'll see it from the perspective of the people that you've influenced as well. And so if you've been a primarily hurtful person, well, then you're going to feel what those other people felt. You're going to feel how you felt when you were doing it and how they felt when they were receiving that attention from you. And so when you start seeing yourself going off into areas of abuse, like say this other husband that's doing in the last example, the last question, they'll look at themselves and they'll be shocked. If you're a soldier and you're just killing indiscriminately, just because you just wanted to kill everybody in sight, you look at that and you go, oh my God, what did I do? Oh, you will be in so much trauma, you will be in so much pain, so much sadness, so much hurt, that you will give yourself that very, 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 very difficult life. And if your karma matches up, then that difficult life will come your way. Okay. Is this a promise? I think karma goes further than promises. Promise, when you say promise, it offers the opportunity to break that promise. Karma is not so easily broken. Okay, so because we're here behind a veil of forgetfulness, which is so necessary, so that we don't go ahead and just go, oh well, okay, I'm done with this part, and I'm not going to face that. I'm tired. This life is terrible. I don't want to go on. I have to have my $1 million a month, or I'm just not happy. And so when we're manifesting the patterns of probability and we're forming and shaping the next physical expression, we're looking at the strongest patterns of probability that, yes, they do indeed establish a level of karmic balancing and a level of spiritual evolution. The choices for evolution will always be present. You see, and so it becomes, now you're entering into areas that are very, very, very difficult for the five sense mind to discern. Within that context, spiritual evolution and karmic balancing, and sometimes they go hand in hand. Sometimes they go hand in hand, but oftentimes they're separate and distinct. And so you need to understand that as a promise, no, but as a law, yes. Okay, so I don't really see karmic promises as something that, using those words and what those words mean. I don't see karmic promises as being something that is based in levels of reality within that context. I think that karmic law, the law of karma, is far more truthfully descriptive. And so here we are, my dear. Next one.
Thank you, Chrism. Does Now, this is phrased probably from somebody who doesn't have English as a first language. It's, does Kundalini offer physical death if one's person cannot handle his or her physical condition? Or Kundalini save life? How about those people who undergo a mental hospital and are suicidal?
Yeah, well, that's really a profound question, because this is something I experienced as well. Sometimes the Kundalini will not allow you to die. You will not be allowed to commit suicide, even though you'll want to every day. If you don't know what's going on, if your ego is so strong and so rigid and so unbending and so inflexible that you cannot have a reality that is incorporative of the Kundalini or incorporates the Kundalini, and you're constantly resisting it, and you reach beyond just the level of mental and psychological and emotional resistance, and you go into areas of chemical resistance as well, life is going to be very, very, very difficult for you. Will it allow you to die? Yes. Yes. You will be allowed to, because I tell you what, once you pull that trigger, unless the Kundalini refuses to let that bullet fire, which is possible, you can die. And you know, clearly, 30% of the people that have the Kundalini that don't want to go into the chemical prison, which a psych ward is, don't want to be stripped naked and pumped full of drugs and hosed down, with a fire hose because, some orderly is getting off on that. For the people that don't want to do that, let me put that down there, they'll consider other options, and those other options may not be positive. Those other options in many ways may be suicidal. And depending on the person's karma, whether or not they are allowed to take that option will determine whether that option is going to be fulfilled or not, the suicidal option, certainly. In other ways, the Kundalini just begins to change the way a person is thinking, allowing that person to feel differently. So the heart chakra is manipulated. The heart chakra is manipulated, and the person's choices, because of that manipulation, begin to change. And there a level of testing occurs for the individual. It becomes very, very Pavlovian, where, you get rewarded for good behavior, you're going to kind of get punished for bad behavior. And it goes forward into that, helping the person to change their psychological disposition, helping a person to become less rigid and more flexible to the levels of information that the Kundalini and the levels of activation that the Kundalini is giving into that person. But clearly can be allowed to die within the Kundalini.
Thank you, Chrism. Does Vipassana, am I pronouncing that correctly? Vipassana suppress Vipassana. Thank you. Does it suppress or stimulate Kundalini? And that's from the group as well.
Okay. Yeah, Vipassana is often a vector of Kundalini activation for people. Now, depending how the Vipassana is done, in many Vipassana retreats, the men and the women are separate. In some cases, you're not allowed to speak at all. I think that's predominantly how it's done. In other, you'll be in the same building, and you're literally there to meditate all the time for about 10 days. Like a 10-day Vipassana retreat. You don't get to talk with anybody. There's no talking, and you meditate, and you're segregated. Gender segregation. In some other Vipassana retreats, you'll be able to meditate at the banks of a river or the banks of a creek or outside in some format. But still the rules are fairly similar. No talking, gender segregation, and you're really there just to meditate. And so for some people, Vipassana meditation retreat can be a Kundalini activation event. Certainly not everyone, but I've seen it enough times in my 10 years of teaching now that Vipassana is definitely one of the vectors that I can suggest for Kundalini activation, but it's a harsh one. We're not used to shutting our mouths. We're used to expressing ourselves and talking about our feelings and what knowledge we have and what our cares and concerns are. We're not used to just stop talking for 10 days. Think about that. It can be a life-changing event, just the not talking. And that includes no Skyping and no texting and no computer access at all. Okay. No computer access, no telephone access, none of it. And that begins to shift. I mean, in today's many generations that would be partaking of Vipassana, that can be a big, big, big deal. And that level of non-electrical communicative stimulation can be a very, very powerful resource for people. And within a Kundalini context, if you're already awakened, you're already activated, I'm not going to suggest Vipassana for you. Because as that other questioner asked, you're going to need to move your feet. Some of you are going to need to vocalize. Sometimes you just have to do what the Kundalini has you do, and the Kundalini doesn't really care about Vipassana rules. It cares about the rules of itself within your system. And so, in many ways, an awakened Kundalini person or an activated Kundalini person, pre-spinal sweep, you don't need Vipassana at all. You need Kundalini. And you need to open to that Kundalini. You need to surrender to that Kundalini. If you have a flesh teacher, you need to really surrender to that flesh teacher. And I'm going to go off on this a little bit, Santara. Please forgive me. The flesh teacher. We are taught so often to never, ever bow to any man. I read that a lot. I won't bow to any man. Damn it. And it's just like, yeah, well, okay, not a problem here. You're not bowing to a 5 cents person when you're giving yourself to a Kundalini flesh teacher. You aren't giving yourself to a man. You're giving yourself to the divinity expressing through that man. And if you don't feel it, if you don't feel that divinity, if you don't feel called to work with that person in that way, then don't go there. Don't go there. But if some aspect of that person's voice or that person's way of being or that person's information or that person's writing or that person's whatever is calling you to work with that person in that way, then I'm going to strongly suggest that you do that. You follow the curve of what the Kundalini wants you to follow. You don't follow the straight and narrow confines of your ego or the straight and narrow confines of your programming. Going back to Rosemary with the Catholic Church, she's got some very, very solid parameters of interaction. In some parameters, there's no questions. You're not allowed to ask or question anybody. If that person is superior to you, well, then it's just like, yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, and there you go. Even if you know it's an incorrect scenario, you're not allowed to correct them. Okay? It's almost like the military in that way. With a flesh teacher, a Kundalini, awakened flesh teacher, it's very different. And you're not bowing to that human aspect as much as you're bowing to the divine aspect. And once again, you'll be called to do this. This will not be something that will just, you flip a coin with. Okay. So there's that.
I'm glad you went off on that. Because, yeah, you are. I mean, for myself, I have been and am compelled to do that. And I liked what you said about the rules that the rules of itself within your system, that because that's what it's about. It's about following the Kundalini and the rules of itself within my system. And so that's exactly it. There's no choice. Well, there is probably, but there isn't. You know.
That's true. You know, some of the students that I work with, you know, they're astute enough. You know, they come into a sudden realization. It's just like, you know, I'll ask them if they're comfortable doing this or they're comfortable doing that, you know, and I do ask about a person's comfort levels. I constantly check in with a person just to see how is that mundane, ego-based personality, how are they conforming to these new teachings that are, you know, can be somewhat challenging. And they, you know, some of the students so correctly make the observation is, I have no choice. I have to do this. And that is so true. It is so true. And this is inside of a society that says, well, everybody has choice. Everybody has freedom. You have the freedom to do what you want to do. You have the freedom as long as you're staying within the laws of your society. Well, you have the freedom. You can make it or break it. Like here in the United States, you know, United States is seen as this country where the land of milk and honey is, as it used to be said in the last century. You can come here and you can make yourself a millionaire if that's what you want to do. You can do anything that you want to do as long as you do it within the laws of the United States society. And indeed, that is the truth. But with Kundalini, it doesn't care about the laws of the United States society. It cares about its own laws, its own levels of surrender. I mean, this goes beyond terrestrial existence. Kundalini awakened people are kind of like, they're coming into the point, the terminus. Like if you look at a spear, and you know, it's all the past lives have been the handle of the spear, and the wood of the spear, and the Kundalini awakened lives are the metal tip or the obsidian tip of the spear. You see, it's a very, very different environment. So yeah, you don't have a choice, and in many cases, you shouldn't have a choice. You know, you look at your equation, Centaura, and you look at Elizabeth and Brooke and Eileen and Julia, Vashti and Helly and you know some of the other folks, Bruno. There's no choice there. I mean, the choice really, if there is a choice, is surrender or not surrender. And the not surrendering can be so horrible that it really comes down to a pointless activity. And so surrender is really not given as an option anymore, but you can take it if you want to try it that way. You know, and if the Kundalini would allow masochism, then that may be a person, a way a person would want to go. But typically it doesn't allow that because that's just another form of mental, emotional, psychological imbalance, self-invalidation. And so in many ways and in many contexts, there is no choice. Go ahead, Cynthia.
Thank you. Okay, there was a question, and it said, this is on the groups as well. Hello, everyone. Just wondering if anyone has ever experienced hypochondria as a result of Kundalini. Could you speak about that, Chrism, please?
Right, sure. Hypochondria, especially in the activation, the early activation areas where you're starting to feel like, say, roving temperature fluctuations on the body. You're starting to feel major organ enlargement. You're starting to feel, tingly expressions or the prickly sensations on the body. It can be so fast and so furious that your psychological mind will be going, oh my God, how did I all of a sudden become such a mess? I went from great health to I feel like I have to go to the emergency room or the psych ward or both. You know, and so when a person is resisting through ignorance, and you can resist through ignorance too. I did. Speaking of personal experience here, you can resist through ignorance, and when you're resisting through ignorance, it's still resistance. And I could have swore in my earlier equation that I was having kidney stones. I was, oh yeah, I am sure. I'm so sure. I mean, I'd never had a kidney stone before. Once I started feeling I was having one, then of course, I was looking them up, and you have a Stegosaurus one, which sounded so dinosaur-esque to me. I thought, I bet I have that one. You have all the different formations of kidney stones in the system, and I'm sure Julia, is very well aware of these. And and I was thinking, oh my gosh, I know I've got it. I know, and I even started, taking these herbal remedies to suppress or to dissolve what they call renal gravel or kidney stones. And when I took that medication, it's just like, that's just made it so much worse. I put that away. I never touched that stuff again. But I did. I was willing to. I was homeless at the time, but I was able to find some work, and I was able to save up $1,500 so that I could go into a medical facility and have them do a sonogram on my kidneys, and of course I'm in there and I'm talking to the tech, and he's going, well, I'm not an MD. I cannot counsel you on anything, and I really am not comfortable mentioning it to you at all. I just want to do this, and we'll go. And I sweet talked him. I just said, hey, it's okay. I've worked medical too. I get where you're coming from. So I'm looking at the screen and I'm going, what's that there? And he's saying, oh no. He says, once he found out I'd also worked medical, he softened up a little bit, and he says, I don't see any gravel in you at all. And then they turn the results of the procedure over to an MD who forgot to do it. So I paid all this money, and then the MD didn't even respond to it. And then I complained about it and got my money back. But I received what I needed to know. The tech told me what I needed to know. There was nothing there. He followed the ureters all the way down. He did the whole thing. When you're going in for that type of a procedure, you can't go to the bathroom. They don't want you to go to the bathroom, or they want to see the whole thing distended. And so I could see everything. He showed me right there. I was pointing to here. What's that? What's this? What's that? What's this? And he said, no, nothing there, not at all, clean. Looks like you have to go to the bathroom. Why don't you feel free to go? So yeah. You can really feel like every illness of on God's earth is affecting you. You can feel, and if a person doesn't know what a kriya is, well, they feel like they have some sort of a neurological dysfunction, and if they don't know what a vocal kriya is, they think they have Tourette's. There are many, many, many different ways that a person can become hypochondriac simply because they're undergoing Kundalini phenomena, and it just isn't so. All you need is a little information that these ancient orders and these ashrams and these mystical societies just refuse to let out into the public. Maybe that's, I keep complaining why I'm the only one to do this. Brooke was out here recently, and, we're talking about it, and I'm going, it really pisses me off that I'm the only one who's teaching this level of truth. And I just, this should be common knowledge for people. See, even Sugar Babe agrees with that. But I'm not, but I guess I am. At least I am one voice in the wilderness for those who may think that they are having hypochondriac conditions, or they're having severe psychological or emotional dysfunction. Well, they're not. You're having Kundalini, and God is blessing you. Grace is upon you. And just let that body go as it needs to go, and let your ego mind relax. Relax its fear and relax its concern over the unknown that you're currently having. You are not sick. You are blessed. And it's not that kind of a blessing. You know how people say, oh, I'm so blessed when they're describing something terrible. You're blessed in a very positive way. And you just need to realize it. Next one.
Thank you, Chrism. The next question is from the Shaktipat group. So can Shaktipat remove entities attached? I had one of the dream. I had a dream, I suppose, about one during the Shaktipat period in which dark shadows were sucked up by the scatter field, and I could actually feel behavioral changes in me.
Well, I've done these Shaktipats, I think. For how long do you think, Amelia?
For quite a few years. I'm doing it since 2009, 2007. I don't know.
Maybe Eileen would probably know. Let's talk to Eileen here. Let's see here. Where is she at? There she is. How long do you think that's been going on, Eileen?
Over the internet, over in the groups around, we started in about 2006.
2006, you say?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, my dear. Thank you. Yeah, 2006. I have to say that, when I give a Shaktipat, I only ask you to post your picture because you need to lift a finger to do something for it. The Kundalini doesn't need your picture. You need to post your picture. You need to post your picture. Kundalini, it wants your name. That's all it needs. Just your name. Boom, it goes. The scatter fields have been getting stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. As my body increases its Kundalini equation, which it does, I am by no ends at the top of the mountain or the end of the run. I've got a long, long, long ways to go. At least it feels that way. But as I go into my grace, and I go and I constantly surrender, and I constantly give, and I constantly give service, and I become a conduit. And I will answer your question in a second here, MJ Henderson. I just read that. And I constantly go into further and further and further levels of grace that is being given to me. All the cells in my body become stronger within a Kundalini context, all of them. And as some of you may know, the scatter fields are basically cellular consciousness that is scattered into an individual with their permission. Okay? And so as my Kundalini grows stronger and stronger in me, as the awakening and my cellular transformations are increasing as they are, so does the scatter field become more and more and more of a potent level of interaction with a person. It can kick entities out of a body. It can, because I don't know. I mean, if any of you have been listening to these programs, I have a fairly salty demeanor to entity possessions. And I'll just let you figure that one out. And so, and because these cells, these are all potential chrisms. I've got 17 trillion potential chrisms in this body, approximately 17 trillion. And so all these chrisms, we're all in agreement with that. We've got no problem with that. Now, let's see. Okay, now, somebody asked a question. Can Kundalini run in families? All my siblings have fibromyalgia, and my sister's having some severe problems lately, starting with fainting and dizziness, and now she can't sleep. She doesn't want to hear anything about spiritual types of things. Yeah, how could I help her? Well, the most you're going to be able to do, my friend, is to pray to your Kundalini for her, because it most certainly can run in families. Most certainly. I've seen it go from mother to son and father to daughter. I've seen people I've seen people have, and families have multiple expressions of Kundalini running through them. And I've also seen I've also seen the one changeling, of the family, and I just call them a changeling. The fairies put that person in place of a normal person. I've seen. That's, I'm only saying that partially humorously, not completely. I've seen that one oddball like me in my family. Nobody in my family has Kundalini except me. That's it. Now, Julia is counseling fibromyalgia, and once again, Julia, she has. If she were in China, she would be considered a medical doctor. Okay, but she's in the States, and therefore the States are weird. Fibromyalgia, Julia says, is really common among families where most have digestive challenges. She says, I've seen many patients have relief from fibro symptoms with a grain-free diet. Some even get relief within days of going grain-free. So there you go. You might want to consider that. Yeah. And so there you go. There's another way to look at fibromyalgia. Fibromyalgia also can be brought on by Kundalini awakening as well. Doesn't necessarily have to be whether or not you're eating grain, but the way I see it, I say take out all the obvious things. It's easy enough not to eat grain. Take that out first, see if that's the cause, and if it is the cause, well then hallelujah. If it's not the cause, then you look at other things. Okay? And another person is asking, approximately how many people in U.S. have Kundalini? Oh, jeez. Well, I'm glad you at least wrote the approximate part. Approximately less than 1% of the entire population. Approximately. So it's not as common. Now with the internet, there has been an explosion of activity in the world actually with regards to Kundalini activations and awakenings. And even though there still is that strong 30% suicidal rate, there's that is actually shrinking. As more information is known about it, as people explore, as they share information with each other, as they as the grace of the divine begins to work its ways into the populations, that 30% is shrinking. I'm not being given a number right now, whether what that shrinking is, but I know it's diminishing because even though out of the 9 billion people, less than 500 million will be having it, far less than that. It's still becoming a prevalent force on the web. And then you have all these other people who are going, oh, it's the ascension symptoms because we're all going to ascend at one because we're all one. We're just one, and we're going to just go off into heaven because we're one. Okay, and so there's those folks too. And you got to bless them for their enthusiasm. For the oneness of all things. And, they're missing a few steps, but that's okay. If they can treat other people the way they want to treat themselves, I got no problem with that. It typically isn't the case, but, if they can, then go for it. Like this Oneness University in India, it's not the way to go, in my opinion. But even with the New Agers, the New Agers are even, it doesn't matter to me so much that they're incorrect or correct or they're following, what I teach or not, as long as they're not following teachings that are hurtful or harmful. It is all leading to a greater understanding of the idea and the activation and the awakening of self-realization or Kundalini awakened people on this world. And so it is indeed growing, Phil. It is growing, and it's growing fast. And I just want to welcome you, Phil, and all the other people here, and the people that are listening in the future to this amazing context of human luminosis, the lit up human being, the semi-divine that is the new characteristic of humanity upon this world. Next one, my dear.
The next question ties in there too with activation, Chrism. The question is, do men experience the Kundalini awakening differently to that of women?
Well, thank you, Centaur. Yeah, certainly the activation sequences, because women don't have testicles, they have ovaries, and so because the men are feeling the sperm and the energetic fluids back pumped from within the testicle up the vas deferens and back into the prostate and then disseminated throughout the body automatically. By the way, this is not something that you're inducing. I know a lot of authors and a lot of a lot of Taoist people, saying Taoist this, Taoist that, ancient Chinese techniques will say, oh yeah, you just do the cool draw or something like that. Going back, the Kunalini will do that spontaneously. It's called genital fluidic ascendance, and those fluids will come under the actual physical control of the Kunalini. Well, the women will feel it coming from the ovaries and from the other areas, like in the other aspects of the female genital anatomy. I'm looking at the ones that look like flowers. I'm just having a brain freeze on that right now. Oh geez. Well, yes, the physical anatomy of the reproductive system of the female, she'll have very similar scenarios. The ovaries will quiver, and so all of the different levels of fluidic, electrical, and plasmic expression that the female has will get pumped into her spine, and so once again, you have the same thing happening in a very different way. So because male and female have different apparatus for fluidic, let me say this, through the Kundalini taking of the fluidic natures of the body, it's still once you join with divinity, that's a genderless position. Gender has no say. There is no separation into male and female when you join with the divine. And so, sure, you have during the activation sequence, you'll have the activation phenomena that are congruent with your gender as you're building towards the spinal sweep. Once the spinal sweep hits, boom, and you're merged with the divine, with the all that is. You are male, you are female, you are non-gender. You are divine. You are at one with divinity. And then, as you come down from that, and it's definitely a come down because you have to step back into this world, your understandings of the whole separation of male and female have completely changed. Your understandings of it, your wisdoms of it, the information that you've been given, the information that you've been able to retain from the union with the divine, changes your perspective tremendously. And so from there, into the awakened Kundalini state, it's a very different life for you, and it's a very different level of metabolizing information that at one point before the spinal sweep, you would have thought about it in one way, but after the spinal sweep, you think about it in a completely different way. So with the as you're in the activation stage and you're working towards that spinal sweep, the men will feel it from the scrotum and feel the fluid being pulled up the vas deferens, which are those seminal canals that go up either side of the scrotum into into the prostatic fluids, and all of those fluids, the 7 fluids that will make that up, the Cowper's gland and all that stuff, make up a lot of different fluidic innervation, and I mean that as in an energetically activated fluid. And then as it settles into the prostate, the Kundalini itself will pull that into the spinal channels and disseminate that amongst the chakras in a way that allows this new Kundalini plasma to be infused into the body in the different ways and different programs that the Kundalini has for each individual. And this will also follow karma. This will also follow the patterns of probability that were accepted by the individual before they even took the body. And this will follow what the divine within the person sees as the blueprint for activation and oneness with divinity and awakening after that triangle has been completed. It's clear as mud, right?
No, I am. The circle is still going around. There I am. Hi.
Tap, tap,
no,
tap.
that is very clear. That's attached to, yeah.
Tap, tap, tap. I'm sorry. You know, you're the second one who's complained about my tap, tap, tap. I just have to get a different chair, I think. That's what it is. It's just,
oh, I laughed when I saw that.
Like, oh my God, I can't hold still. Okay.
I know.
Okay, Rosemary, strap me down.
But that
Rosemary,
was very
strapping
good.
me down now.
Okay.
I'm being strapped.
Too much information. Okay. Anyway, I must say though, Chrism, that's very interesting to hear. And if I could just add, maybe from the perspective of my own experience as a woman, definitely the ovaries and the fallopian tubes flutter. And even I remember some of us discussing, the sensations in the uterus. And that also flutters, and it also can feel like it's expanding. And there's even a sensation of pregnancy there too. Some women experience that because there is that energy moving in the uterus as well. So,
and you can have double and triple menstruation periods within 1 month as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is true.
Women need to know that because they'll think, oh my gosh, something's wrong, and the men, when you feel that sperm back pumping up the penis and into the it's a strange feeling, and it's fast too. It's not a slow. It's not a chugga chugga chugga. It's not a slow pump either. It's really fast. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay, so the next question is about foot and hand chakras. What are they for? What are foot and hand chakras for?
Well, the foot chakras, they both have multiple. I hate to say the word application, but they both have multiple expression. Within the body, both of them connect you to the earth. You grasp the earth. You grasp the earth with your feet and your toes. You grasp the earth with your hands and your palms. You grasp each other. You learn how to manipulate your world with your hands and your feet. The hands have chakras right in the middle of them, and the fingertips each have chakras right on top of them, as does the thumb tip. The toe tips are no different. The big toe is no different. For many of you, the activation occurred, and you saw that your big left toe turned black and blue for a short time without having damaged it or stubbed it or anything. And so there's a very, very defined sequence of events within the Kundalini that have to do with foot chakras and hand chakras. The foot chakras will keep you very, very grounded. They will grow you from the bottom to the top. It's a very profound experience. They are also part of the red triangle, what I call the red triangle. The 2 foot chakras and then the base chakra form that red triangle. That is the Kundalini, the first Kundalini triangle. And then of course, the second triangle incorporates the second, third, and fourth chakra, and then the third triangle, the fifth, sixth, and seventh. And so this is very, very important for you to understand that your hands and your feet are very, very powerful components of a Kundalini awakening. Just look at the mudras and how effective the mudras can be. Just look at how effective it is to walk barefoot on the beach or barefoot on the earth. And Sailboat Mike, one of my students down in Florida, the Kundalini has prescribed for him to go barefoot into ankle high, extremely clear Floridian coastal waters, for his activation sequence. And so, it's a very, very, very important aspect of who we are, how we are, what we are within the Kundalini awakening. And honor your feet, take care of your hands, take care of your toes, take care of your fingers and your fingernails. Take care of yourself and take care of these hands and feet chakras by acknowledging them and being barefoot as much as you can, and don't put a lot of caustic skin lotions on the hands. Don't start washing your hands in gasoline or solvent like I used to do when I was a kid on the ranch. Don't do that anymore. Don't do that at all. Okay, go ahead, Centaur.
Okay, thank you. Do you guys recommend acupuncture for emotional balance and soothing out the Kundalini energy flow? Is there a chance that the treatment can backfire?
Well, I don't know that smoothing out would be the reason I would get acupuncture. Acupuncture can be very, very helpful, and I know a really, really excellent acupuncturist who is listening right now. Her name is Julia. And Julia, if you want to call in, I'll give you an opportunity to respond to that question. I've received acupuncture before. I received it in response to some of the Kundalini phenomena, and I found that when I was doing acupuncture, now you got to understand, I was not doing straight up acupuncture. I was doing my own version. I was doing sacred geometrical formations. As outlined by needle parameters. So the needles were placed over certain chakras in sacred geometry formations of my choosing, of the guidance that I was given. And there were even pictures taken of that, although I don't have them anymore. Things started flying. There was a lot of psychometric things started flying off the shelves without people touching them. It kind of shocked the practitioner, the acupuncturist I was seeing, and scared him to some degree. But psychokinesis was occurring with that, but it didn't hurt my equation. It may have rushed it a little bit in certain areas that I stopped doing after kind of seeing that. I don't need that happening while I'm driving, but. It can be very, very helpful. It can be very conducive. It can, as far as smoothing out the flow, do you want to smooth out the flow, or do you just want to surrender and let the Kundalini smooth out its flow when it's good and ready to smooth out its flow upon you? How much of this is a comfort issue? How much of this is a complacency issue? Oh, I got to have my comfort. Oh, I got to be comfortable with this. This has to be pleasurable or I'm not interested. So within that psychological context, I would say, don't go into acupuncture trying to smooth the flow. That would be an egotistic expression of control over the Kundalini rather than just surrendering to the Kundalini and allowing it, or maybe even asking the Kundalini itself to smooth its flow upon you. And then you're just asking in it, and that can be also part of the surrender, because when the flow isn't smooth, or it is, you have an opportunity for gratefulness. You can say thank you. It can deepen the parameter of your communication with the Kundalini. But don't go into a Kundalini awakening scenario seeking to control it towards the pleasure matrix. Steer clear of that, is my suggestion.
Thank you, Chrism.
Mm-hmm.
There's one more question. In one of the videos, Chrism advises not to force the Kachari mudra, whereas in the safeties it is mentioned to maintain the tongue up position frequently. Are these two different?
Well, yes, they are. They are different. Thank you, Santara. They are different. Very different, actually. The tongue up position that I frequently mention in the safeties is the tongue tip behind the upper front teeth. So the upper front teeth, there's a fleshy mound behind the upper front teeth. That's where your tongue tip goes. Kachari mudra is like the fifth of 5 lingual positions on the roof of the mouth, and it's the 5th one. And basically, you place your tongue all the way back so that it's going up your sinus cavity, and that is designed to collect drops coming from the pineal gland, which is sweating its fluid down, and this is called ambrosia, or there's another word that they have in it for Sanskrit, and what is it? Amrita. And this, to me, that is just about as unessential as you need. Once again, it's the ego mind stepping in, going, "Wow, I can get more of an activation. I get more power if I sip that Amrita. Yeah, let me sip that Amrita. Okay, yeah, boy, there we go. Now what?" Where do you go after that? I mean, for me, it is absolutely non-essential to do Kachari. Kachari is just, it's another way. Like I said, there's 5 lingual positions on the roof of the mouth that a person can use. Actually, the Kunalini itself would use those 5 lingual positions. You may find it moving your tongue to the back or to the concave expression in the middle of the upper palate, or different positions between the upper front teeth, the fleshy mound there, and the concave. And you'll find the Kundalini will actively manipulate that area for you, but you don't need to do Kachari. Amrita is not everybody's pineal gland is sweating. A lot of this is a lot of wishful thinking from the Sanatanists or those people of the Hindu faith, of the mystical original Hindu faith, that did their best to really codify and collect Kundalini phenomena in a way where they're applying it to everyone. So nobody has a unique expression of Kundalini. It's all the same. We're all doing the same thing. Therefore, it's not as scary. Therefore, we don't have to worry about it so much because, this is expected. And so they're really doing their best to take their fear out of it, which to me is a good thing. That's a good thing too. But a lot of it is misinformation that's designed to take the mystery out of a lot of the Kundalini awakening information and experience. So that people don't have to inject a lot of fear, and instead of fear, they put in a great level of reward. So if you're sipping the Amrita by doing Kachari, well then you're getting more powerful Kundalini, which just is not the case. Here's the deal: Kundalini is in every cell of the body. So when that pineal is sweating, your body's already partaking of it. You don't need to do it with the tongue tip. The one thing you do need to do with the tongue tip, and this is very important, is to keep it behind the upper front teeth. That is very important. If you don't do that, you can get a tongue burn. Now, I want to say really thank you, everyone, for joining me. Thank you, Rosemary. Thank you, Eileen. Thank you, Brooke. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, Amelia Centaur. Is there anything you'd like to say quickly, my dear?
Yes, we're coming near the end. Do you want to say something about next week's show, Chrism?
Oh yeah,
is it going to be
next week's show. We're not. I'll be on the road next week's show, so don't come for next week's show. I'll be on the road. I'll be traveling with Rosemary and Centaur, and Rosemary's giving me hand cards. Isn't she a blessing? I swear, Rosemary is the best blessing you could ever have. Running out of time here. I just want to say blessings to all of you that were here. Atlantic Seer, Julia, Elizabeth Dalton, Gonzalez, Fashji, Guest 2225, 2650, Heli Halonen, MJ Henderson, Madhya Vasavi, Manisha, Phil Karuba, Bruno Rodriguez, I'd like to say thank you to all of those of you in the future who are listening in the archives, everybody from all the different communities. Hello, hello. Bless you all, and bless you, Santara. Bless John, your husband. Bye-bye, everyone.
Goodbye, everyone.